Everybody. Welcome. Uh, thank you guys for joining us, taking our time this Sunday to join us to the Laboratory of Redemption, the 100,000 Pay Club. We call it that because we're actually trying to do that. We're doing that. We're making 100,000 a month. That's the goal for this club. That's what we're in. We're the Laboratory of Redemption, guys. Come on in. There's a couple of reasons why we call it the Laboratory of Redemption. Um, it's for me personally. It's a way for me to right my ship. I've taken some missteps, some things that I should have done in my life, financially, all kind of things that have gotten me to where I'm at right now. So this is an opportunity of redemption for me personally, to catch up on some things, to make some better financial decisions, to set some things in paths for my family. So this is a great opportunity for redemption for me for that. But for some of you guys, it may not be what that is. You may redeem uh, in a fair exchange for something. So a redemption, a redeeming something can be something different to you. So we like to think that you can come in here and for a fair exchange, you get what you put in. You put in what you get out. You know, it's the same thing. So that is another way we look at redemption around here. Our goal here is to be for the people. We're here for the adjusters. We're here for this community. We're here to change the trajectory of you guys' lives, change the trajectory of our lives, change the trajectory of your lives, change the trajectory of your family's lives. So we're here to not only provide encouraging words and all of that, but actual direction, actual people that we can point you to, get you involved with, connect you to, team you with, that can get you to where you're trying to go. So for those who don't know, my name is Demetrio Chicon. I've been adjusting since 2019, 2018. Took a year off, came back, worked some inside positions, did some file reviews. I've had some great experiences. Jumped out in the field this year since 2016. I mean, since the beginning in January, decided I want to get back out in the field. And I've been out in the field. I've been all over. I've been in South Carolina, Mexico. I'm in Illinois right now. So it's been great. Been enjoying my time out here in the field. Um, Probably in about a little bit over 5.5, 6 months of actual work time. Uh, I've brought home over $100,000 in that time, and just making the decision to get out in the field. So it's out there and it's available for you guys. We want to let you guys know that it's out there. It's easy for you to attain. It takes some perseverance and hard work, but we created this community so that we can be there available for you to help you guide you through that. It's something that we all wish we had in the very beginning. It's somebody that we can turn to for help. You know, they can teach you about the adjusting side of it, and you can learn that, and we can help you with that. But it's a lot of other personal things, life things that go on when you get out on these deployments. Even working in the office, it's a lot of stuff that goes on. Um, we're going to be speaking about deployment this week. We have a special guest, somebody who knows a whole bunch about deployment. But for those who are interested, we can speak on things that you need to do in the meantime to help you get deployed, to help you stay deployed. We're going to be speaking on that today. And again, all of these things are to try to help you, and we can get to that $100,000 club. That's the goal, 100K a month. And the money is great, but the mindset is even better. To know that you can set your mind to something and achieve it, that's where actual freedom comes in. And so we are going to attain that. We're going to show you guys that it can be done. We're doing it, and you can do it as well. So from that, we definitely, I'd like to introduce somebody who's doing it, who just started, and who's making great career choices and paths, and it's paying off. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Miss Janae. Miss Janae, the floor is yours.
Hello guys. First off, I just want to say if anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat. We'd love to try to get, all those questions answered. As for me, like you said, my name is Janae. a little background about me is that I went to school for accounting. I was a student athlete. I played basketball at Albany University. I went to school for accounting. So, clearly I did not have any background in construction or know anything about that. I got started adjusting in January. I had my first appointment with Meech out in South Carolina, and I was just immersed in it. I was completely overwhelmed, but being that I have a bit of a background as a student athlete, I'm used to those situations where you just gotta dig deep and just get it done. You know what I mean? So like I said, I worked pretty much this whole year. I went from my first deployment was in South Carolina, and then that kind of just bled into my second deployment where my manager asked me to go straight to California. I went out there and again was completely overwhelmed because again, not really knowing much, but learning a ton. I've worked the first half of the year. I did take off the month of June, and I made over 130,000 in the first 6 months. So I was incredibly happy with how everything turned out, and that's why I'm here, trying to get other people to even understand what adjusting is or what it takes, So really excited about this. As far as deployments go, for me, I feel like you just have to kind of pay attention to, well, once you're deployed, I should say, you have to kind of pay attention to what your manager is looking for. Every manager is different. For me, I'm currently deployed in Illinois, and my manager pretty much already told me, like, you can stay here for as long as you want. Just give me a heads up when you feel like you're getting burnt out or when you feel like you want to, go home. So I would say, like, paying attention to what your manager wants and yeah, just like doing your job well. But as far as deployments, again, I would ask, like, I want to know, like, even for Travis, like, how long did it take you to, like, I guess, hone your skills or feel like you really got it done, like got it down? Like, how many deployments in did it take for you? Because this is like my fourth deployment, but like, again, I've only been adjusting for like half a year or 7 months now.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Travis Brock, been adjusting for about 6 years. It happened so fast. Wow. Doggone. My background before adjusting was in sales. From sales job to sales job to sales job. I sold insurance for about 10 years. So I know insurance, right? But I didn't know adjusting. I had no idea. I didn't know nothing about construction. So my first deployment, terrible. Oh my God. Ooh, it was terrible. But I didn't know what I was doing. And we came into a catastrophe, a true war zone. Houses blowing over, trees through houses. Like, man, that sucks for you. Like, it's terrible. I had no idea what I was doing. Got through it. However, when I got let go within the first 3 weeks, ticked me off. Not because I couldn't do the job. I was searching for the answers, but I wasn't receiving them. I wasn't getting them. So I'll say no, Demetrio talked about this, but if I had a community to come to and say, hey, I'm struggling from a human level, I would feel supported, right? Because the X's and O's, you can get that. But from a human level, once our mind takes over and the mind monster kicks in, it's a wrap. Not because it has to, but because we allow for it to, because we don't have someone to share our experiences with. So, and then my second deployment came a year later, and that was in North Carolina. Trash. Oh, I was terrible still. Absolutely terrible. But I had a manager that I would come to and say, hey, man, I'm struggling. He just wasn't available to me. I was so ticked off, right? I wanted to, like, choke this dude out. But then I realized, I said, man, the long game. I want to let him know how I felt. Like, I have a short temper sometimes, especially when I want something. So I was like, man, long term, do I keep it real or do I go ahead and just pause, be quiet, eat it, say thank you so much for what you've done, and move forward? So I said, nope, option one, blah, 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 blah. No, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't cuss him like I wanted to. So I went ahead, I kept it cool. Cliff. I said, you know what I'm gonna do? I want to just say, okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. But at the same time, by going through the deployments, I made sure that I met people. And then I also went to trainings, different trainings. Trainings is a big, big deal because as an independent adjuster, you are just thrown to the wolves. Like, go get it. Go get what? Like, am I? Like,
Sink or swim.
Right? But I would just say, just stick in the process and understand it's going to work out and stay plugged into the community. But also at the same time, find someone that you can connect with and have conversations, not just the sad conversations, but how do I get better conversations? Search for the answers. They're there for you. Because I promise you this, Ms. Candace is going to break down exactly what a manager's looking for. And when a manager likes you, guess what happens? You keep working. Ain't that something? You just keep on working. And then what'll happen is as you get better and better, more confident, you better call your own shots. You say, you know what, I'm done. Or I'm ready to work. Guess what'll happen? Because the person likes you, because you've shown yourself worthy of being deployed by getting better, listening, being coachable, following the system, and getting out of your own way. Eliminating distractions. It saddens me, or it takes me off. I almost anger. I always say anger so much. I do, but it pisses me off when someone says, "Man, I don't know what happened to me." He's like, "But you was on your phone the entire time."
Right.
You didn't come to the help room.
Right.
You
not showing up, not asking questions.
So what do you expect, brother, man, sister, girl? Of course you got whacked, and it's okay to whack because you didn't really want it. So I'm gonna go ahead. I get all passionate.
I feel like I was gonna say, I feel like when you're in between deployments, especially after your first one, because typically your first deployment could end like, you know, when those first cuts go out and that 2-3 week mark, that's usually when the rookies tend to get chopped off first. But I feel like for me, it was very important where like, okay, after my deployment was done and you're home for a week and you're wishing that you were still working, that's the time where you think about, okay, what were the things that I was doing good or I was doing well? What were the things that I was terrible at that, that my manager had to keep reminding me on, or my trainer had to keep telling you, hey, Janae, don't forget to do this, to pay attention to those things and do it better. Like very simple things sometimes, like for example, coming here to this deployment, like I know a lot of people don't know what reconciliations are, but you get a contractor sends in their estimate and you have to go through line item by line item. And for me, when I first started in January, that was so overwhelming to me. I just didn't do them. I just left them. I was just like, I don't even know how to tackle that problem yet. Let me just, And so of course, when you're not doing your work, you're going to get cut. But for me, coming here to Illinois, I was like, reconciliations, when they pop up, I'm knocking them down as soon as they pop up because I don't like to do them. So let me just sit there and get it done so I can just be done with it. You know what I'm saying? Like little things like that, or checking your voicemail. I know I say that a lot, but checking your voicemail. Like I'm always on the voicemail list. I'm almost always on the list that goes out. Hey guys, these people, check your voicemail. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that I have an alarm that goes off at 5 o'clock every day to check my voicemail. Like little things that you could implement to be better that your managers, well, at least I'm thinking that my manager, I'm going to speak to Candace about it soon, but I'm thinking that my manager pays attention to those things or, sees those little things. But yeah, you didn't answer, Travis. How long did it take how many deployments in did it take until you kind of felt super comfortable or super cold, as you say it, at your job?
I would say about 3 years.
Oh wow!
Because it's repetitive, and it's always something new going to happen.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. Like something very, very new. But also, I'm gonna say this real quick. What kind of resolve do you have, though?
What kind of what?
What kind of grit do you have, though? Resolve, grit, determination. What kind of do you have? Why are you doing this? Is it just for the money, or is it going to do something for you? Because if it's just for you, and if it's just for money, quit.
Yeah, you're not gonna last long.
Quit. But if it's for something, if it's for a person or for a situation that you're looking to make better, you work even harder. You say, you know what, this sucks, man, but I'm getting better at it. Okay, I messed up. Okay, because guess what they'll do? They'll give you the right answer. Turn it in bad, and they'll give you the right answer. They'll say, hey, change this, and this. That's how I got better. Bet. Here you go. I missed. Okay, well, bet. All right. Well, I'm sick of this crap. Bet. Kept on turning it in. Guess what happened? A little better. I still do that though. Candace will tell you about that, but I'm gonna go ahead and get off. But I'm just saying, what kind of resolve do you have? Because this will challenge your personhood only because you've never done it before, and it sucks because
you've never done it. You've never done it, and you're kind of on your own. Depending on the situation. Like when I was in South Carolina, we had a virtual war room. We didn't have a physical location where I could go every day and just, hey, how do I do this? Or, you know what I'm saying? So you're kind of on your own, like you're kind of on an island. So yeah, you need to have that self-discipline, or you need to have that grit where you can just say, okay, I'm overwhelmed right now. Let me make a to-do list and just knock out as much as I can, one by one. So
and also one last little thing. You guys are beautiful. Put your cameras on. You guys are beautiful. iPhone uses 7.
Yeah, Travis wants to see y'all faces.
Coach Cobra, what's up, baby? What's up? Cut it on. OB, what's up, baby? I'm talking to the blank screens. I feel all like myself. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm back, man. I got knocked off for a minute.
All right. Okay, well, as you guys know, for the new people that are here with us this week, we try to have an adjuster spotlight just so that we can interview someone who is adjusting to give you guys, different ideas, or just to see the background in it. So this week we have Dennis. Dennis, if you could unmute yourself and just give us a little brief background into your story or how you got into adjusting.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dennis. I've been adjusting since about 3 years now. Before I was adjusting, I was doing personal training, driving trucks, and I worked as a bouncer at some times. I had plenty other things I'm doing, making decent money, but the adjusting thing for me has become everything, because what it did for me was it allowed me to take care of things where my heart is to take care of my family. So it allowed me to do that. And so adjusting, when I wasn't going to quit my jobs, as you know, as you heard, I had plenty of jobs and was always busy doing something, but I wasn't going to quit that until I have a partner who does this with me also. Her name is Toby. She's on here also. She's the one who's been talking. She was doing this through Travis. Travis introduced her to it. And so she told me, hey, I think you should do this. And I thought, no way, I'm not quitting my job to, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, hey, I think this will work. This is, I was like, well, I'm not very studious person. I'm not the most studious person. So I don't know, I don't know if it'll fit me. So with that, I just wasn't on board. And so she showed me her first check.
Mm-hmm.
I quit my job that week. I was done.
Quickly got on board.
Without asking any more questions, I was done. It was enough. It was more than I made for 3 months. I was like, and that was 2 weeks. And I was like, got it. I see the vision. And so anyway, that's what Justin did for me. It was like, and it just, and I took it like Travis said with anything. I took it as, you see all the things I was already doing. I took it in. I'm like, okay, I had a come to Jesus moment, because adjusting is, you can be a desk adjuster, or you can, get out there in the field like me and Meech. But the thing about it is, you're going to have to climb some roofs. You're going to have to walk around in some yards with dog poop and all these things. And so when I first started adjusting, I had a come to Jesus meeting. I was on a roof going up to the top, and my trainer that was showing me, and everybody won't have a trainer, but I had a trainer. I was fortunate to have a trainer that was showing me things, and he was a real good dude. And he showed me from the bottom up what I needed to do on that roof, which gave me the confidence. And so it's not the adjusting thing for me is not It's not the world, everything in the world, but it is a catalyst to doing the things that I want to do. I want to be a professional on my own training facilities and things like that. And so this adjusting is the catalyst to all of that.
Okay. So you said you're not a studious person. So like, how did that come about? Like getting licensed, was it difficult? Was it easy?
Well, I tell you what, it's like what Travis said, you know, once I saw the potential and I like I said, I saw the check. And so that was the end goal. So if I see the check, you're not stopping me from getting to that check.
You're getting through it.
So no, it wasn't fun, and no, I didn't love it. And but you know, it was I had a lot of help along the way. I had, you know, people that had took the test before that helped me get through it. And so, you know, adjusting was the single best decision I've made in my life.
Right. Agreed. Same here. How did your first deployment come about?
My first deployment, like I said, me and Toby are a team. So our first deployment was unusually from everybody else. So she had 2 deployments before. She had a South Carolina deployment and a Houston Freeze deployment before I was ready when the Houston Freeze came, but I wasn't ready. And so our next deployment was in June. And so our first deployment was 8 months, and that's unusual for anybody.
That's nice.
Right.
That's very nice, especially together. Wow. That's great.
So our first deployment, we, you know, together, the world was ours. You know what I mean? It was just like, we're in Minnesota making all this money. Everybody's wondering what is going on. We getting time to clear our minds, and everything is, you know, life is changing overnight. You know what I mean? Things were getting so much. At first, you keep that old frame of mind of you know, you kind of do things on a small level, but once you start to develop and understand that you're a different person with this adjusting, things start to grow and you get bigger, and your mind expands, and you start thinking of bigger things, and you can start helping people. And that's my biggest thing, is I'm a blessing to help other people, period.
Yep. Not to pry, but how much did you make during the first deployment? I mean, 8 months. 8 months. That's a long time.
So I had never made, I had never been in that 6-figure category before, but you know, that's what 8 months will do for you, for sure.
Damn, just 8 months. Your first deployment. Your very first deployment.
And we work, and like I said, we worked as a team, and if you got a partner that wants to get into this, and you know, this is you are on the road with your partner all the time. You know, you are on the road with your partner all the time.
Right.
But
how's that look though? How's that look as far as you guys' team effort? What was that? Who did what?
Good question.
Oh, okay. So, let me explain that just a little bit real quick. I'll make it real brief. In the beginning, there was this, I wanted this independence in it. And like I did everything else. I told you kind of my background. I always wanted to be independent in things. You know, I kind of lead. I don't follow very often. And so I wanted to be able to do this myself. Okay. I'm a firm believer in the Lord. I don't know how many of you are, but I'm a firm believer in the Lord. And the Lord put me in this to, you know, do my thing. With that being said, I didn't know my role. Okay. I just told y'all I'm not studious. That wasn't my role. My role was the field. I had a history of being on roofs and putting in things of that nature. Long story short, so in this aspect, she does all the paperwork and I do all the inspections. And it works out like I just send her the inspections.
I bet it goes so smooth. So smooth.
Not so much because I'm hard-headed, but it's going to get there. It's going to get there. I'm hard-headed. It's going to get there.
Oh, man. So like, what's some of the challenges that you faced, I guess, like during that first deployment?
So during that first deployment, the biggest challenges I think we faced was not having someone. We had some really good managers though at that time. So it wasn't that we couldn't have someone to go to. It's just not having someone to bounce ideas off of what we you know, what's good, what's not. You know, we could always go to our upper leadership and find out, you know, what needs to be done. But, you know, having people around you that, you know, that you can just talk to like this, makes the huge difference.
Because you don't want to,
I mean?
you don't want to go to your manager with every little thing, and they're gonna think
Right,
that you
right.
don't know what you're doing.
Right. You don't go
Then
with
you
those
gotta
dumb
go.
questions. Yeah. She gonna put you on the bottom of the list.
Right.
So
Oh
and
man.
so
Okay,
and,
I want to.
I just want to add this too. We didn't have a war room at all on my first deployment, so I
Right.
didn't know what that was.
Right.
I didn't know what that was until my
Mm.
second and third deployment. They was like, "You need to come to the war room." Well, 8 months in, I'm a G now, so I'm good. I don't need your war room. I don't need your war room. But it became a thing. You still want to be there. You still want to participate. You still want to do those things. So I just thought I'd add that in because the war room is a great tool if you don't know what you're doing, and it's a good tool if you do too. Sometimes,
especially
yes,
those first
absolutely.
6 months, the war room should be your lifeline. It should be inspection straight to the war room and just finish up everything there. Just to finish up with you, Dennis.
Sure.
Do you have any advice to like new adjusters or aspiring adjusters?
Absolutely.
Like in that beginning,
Absolutely. My advice is this: seek out and make sure your faith is bigger than your fear, because there's a lot of scary areas in this. There's a lot of scary areas in this. Okay, there's a ton of scary areas. I mean, like I said, from the roofs, it's scary on the roof sometimes. Depending on what level you are. When you have to be up at in the beginning, you'll be up at 12 midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning trying to get those estimates done, all that. And then you got to get up at 7 and be in an inspection. I mean, those type of fears in the beginning. But like I said, having somebody to bounce this off of would have been aces and spades. You know what I mean? But my advice to any adjuster coming out brand new out the box is to find resources. If especially like this, if there's anything, but find resources of people, place, whatever. I mean, if you have to YouTube, whatever you can, find a resource to help you through those simple questions, because no question is dumb. It's just those simple questions. Sometimes they can be answered, and you don't have to go to your manager. Because, like you said, Janae, if you go to your manager and say, "Well, should I click yes or no on this?" She'll be like, "How'd you get here? How'd you get here?" You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
So that's my advice would just be to try to, when you get into this, because obviously somebody gets you in, and so when you get into this, try to get those resources, because that was the biggest thing. I was so indecisive on certain things on the roof. I'm like, what do I need to do here? I wonder. And so like I said, I had a trainer, solid guy. I was very blessed. Like I said, that's why I felt like I'm better than anybody on this roof. You know what I mean? I had a trainer that was like aces and spades. So anyway, that would be my advice, would to be just to seek some outside resource, personal friend, whatever, to kind of help you, just kind of learn the small stuff, because that was the stuff that we did.
And that's exactly why we are here every Sunday building this community, so that new adjusters can seek those resources out.
Absolutely, guys, man. Thank you so much for that interview. That was awesome, man. Thank you, Dennis, man. We appreciate you sharing that story, man.
Yes, sir.
You were not doing your thing prior to this, so it had to be something big to carry you away. That speaks to the enormous, how big this is, man. I know you was doing your thing out there. So, man, we're glad to have you, man, and everything that you bring to the table, man. I know you bring a lot, man. So this community needs you. And man, we're better with you, man.
I might have to ask you a few questions every now and then.
Man. And like, and another good thing, we were talking in the day, this community, I wanted to be a part of this community. You can find whatever you need. You need somebody to help you out in personal training. We got personal trainers. We got somebody that do in tax. We got somebody that can help you out with your credit. We got in this type of community that we don't have to look outside of ourselves for something that we can, need here. So we want to be able to provide that as well, and to be a resource for that. So absolutely. Just want to remind you guys that, in the end, you got questions and Q&A in the end, so you can drop your questions in the chat, or you can stay afterwards. Sometimes we do stay on the line for a few minutes afterwards, but anytime when we're wrapping this up, you guys have questions, anything like that, man, feel free to speak on that. So I know this week we're speaking on deployment. And for those new people that are considering being a justice, it's huge to be able to get deployed. That's how everything is going to get started. So we have somebody that we're going to speak that's going to speak tonight. I've actually worked under this person before. She was absolutely fabulous, and she's so knowledgeable. And it's just, we're really, really, really blessed to have her share some of that knowledge with us. So, Ms. Candace, if you don't mind, the floor is yours, lady. Floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. Are y'all able to hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Nice. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to talk. Before I get started, I just want to say, this is an amazing thing that your leadership team is doing. This is something I've mentioned to a few people and adjusters I've met, like, man, I wish there was more community that you'd hear about. And then,
oh, man.
oh my God, that's amazing. So, but just to start, I'll tell y'all a little bit about myself. Into a few things about staffing and deployment. I know that's the topic for this week. So a little bit about myself. I've been in insurance for 18 years. I've done auto and property, both sides of the house. It was important to me to just learn both. With auto, I did BI, attorney and non-attorney rep. And then with property, it's all been inside CAT, desk, leadership, things of that nature. I've run quality plans. I've worked on the IA side and the staffing side. So got a little different view from some with different things like that. I've run IA teams even when I was on the staff side, and also been with some companies that were smaller that were starting up using independent contractors. So building those guides out, really seeing things from the floor up, and then getting to points even where they were starting to phase some of that out. So just a really different viewpoint on some of those things. So I'm glad to answer any questions around those things. The biggest thing I want to talk about today, I guess, in reference to deployments, feel free to stop me at any point and ask questions. This is very fluid, very informal in my opinion. I just want to be here to help educate. So I'm going to start just talking a little bit first about staffing and how we go about it. Currently, right now, I'm a director at a third-party administrator, so an independent contracting firm. Did have the benefit of working with Demetrio, so that was nice. That's how I met him. But when it comes to staffing, though, when we look at stuff, we start looking at everything pretty tedious, starting with the resumes, right? So I can think of times when we're ready to ramp up for CAT, or even right now where we're not fully ramped up with some clients, we start looking at resumes and putting people on seasonal leave so that we can get them hired in and get equipment easier. However, sometimes people's resumes don't make it past a quick glance. And the reason I say that is what I've run into more on this side of the house is that a lot of times our independent contractors, they're so busy a lot of times from, when they do move deployments, they don't get to update their resume. And sometimes for us, it knocks them out of it before we can even get to know them unless it's a strong referral. So just be mindful. I know it sounds some people are going to say, man, that's the dumbest thing. I may have a ton of experience, but if you still say you're working for Pilot, I can't look at hiring you, right? Because there's things about poaching. I don't want to get too detailed, but so you up to date, because we won't necessarily approach if you may be in the middle of a deployment. So unless somebody else that knows you is like, hey, you can, reach out to my friend. This is Janaea, she's interested. We can't reach out if you're working for another firm necessarily a lot of times. So just make sure your resume is as up to date as possible. Also make sure it shows active licenses. A lot of times when we run into when we hire somebody or when we start doing some vetting calls, half the licenses are expired, right? But they've got maybe 10, 15 on there, which is great, but we may need certain states for certain clients, and that's what we're looking for. And I know that can be hard to keep up with too, but it's just part of the whole, as an independent contractor, y'all run your own business. So it's just important that you're representing yourself really well on there. Make sure things are spelled correctly, proofread it. It doesn't take very long. I know it sounds petty in the grand schemes of it, but you wouldn't imagine the amount of people we see with good experience. It's like, man, if they didn't proofread the resume, how am I supposed to feel confident about file notes, or when we put them in meetings with the client? So that's just a real high level, really quick thing to think about in reference to that. Also on those vetting calls, I can't tell y'all some of the things I've run into on those vetting calls that were just like, I probably wouldn't have said that. But some of the things I'll give. So I remember I called one person we were vetting. She was a friend of a referral. The recruiters were all, oh, Candace, you got to hire her. She's great. I called her and she said, oh, I couldn't get her on the phone the first few times, right? So I emailed her. Then she calls me and says, I don't prefer phone. I prefer email. I was like, well, we got a client we're trying to fill a spot for. Do you need a job? I can't keep just, nobody knew your preference was email. You're not calling back. Nothing was going on with their phone. So be mindful too, just when you respond to those vetting calls, it's okay to be honest if you do prefer like email over phone, but make sure that you give a reason. Like later on, she told me like, oh, well, I was having issues with my phone. I wish she would have said that, you know, because it was just a weird. So
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to ask about the whole resume thing. Like for the people that have no, you know, background just yet, are there any like certifications or anything that help them stand out, like without any background?
So yeah, and a lot of times, you know what, that's a great question, because sometimes we have clients that are looking for people with no background yet. So then it may be okay. Or they may have a minimal deployment, you know, because maybe like you said, being new, they're normally the first people to get cut, even if they're good at what they do, right? So I say just do the best you can, put on there what you have, and you can put what you've done before, because sometimes we look for transferable skills as well. So it doesn't just knock you out of the running because you don't have a ton of adjusting background.
But like, what about those? Yeah, certifications.
So Xactimate has certifications.
Okay.
Courses, get comfortable with that so that you know and understand. Clearly, if you haven't used it a lot, it's gonna take a little bit of work there, but it does help you stand out. So there's a lot of people certifications.
Right.
A lot more. Anyway. So
that's what I would assume.
LinkedIn, things like that, they share them all the time, and even different third-party administrators, different IA firms that are putting on classes for deployments, for things like that. So easy ways to find that, you know. But yep, that's a great point, great question.
Another question. So like for the newbies, right, that do get cut in 2 or 3 weeks, what are some of the things that you notice between all of them that they kind of fall short on doing?
Normally a few things, right? So a lot of it's business maturity. A lot of it's the whether you're in the office or if you're virtual, because we keep chats going with teams. A lot of times there's chats that we drop in and out of. Clearly our clients aren't in them. Or it's conversations where they're talking about things in front of the wrong audience. They may be on calls with our client for a training and they're saying things in front of the client they don't need to say. You know, you probably don't want to say, if we've just been hit with a cat, you don't want to be on the phone with the client and say, hey, I've only got, my license 2 weeks ago. Probably don't want to share that. They probably have an idea we're a little shorthanded, but you don't want to say that. Or saying things just are inappropriate in general, right? Hey, I didn't really think that. Right? It's not the time to say it on there with the client. Save that for your group chat, you know?
Things that kind of come with experience or common sense in some cases.
So just something to be mindful of, because a lot of times people get into adjusting at all different ages and walks of life. So sometimes I've probably thought about that, but not necessarily tied it into adjusting just because they're not used to that world yet. So just definitely something to mention. In addition to that, because we deal with a lot of clearly adjusting, you're going to deal with things when people are dealing with really tough situations. So being able to handle those conversations that are tough, whether it's the customer being emotional, whether they're right or wrong, when they get a little strong with us, and not being defensive when your team lead or whoever comes to have that conversation with you about maybe handling it a little different in the feedback. That's another huge thing that comes in with, and it comes with time. I'm with you. It comes with time. That I think if we can get people on the earlier end to start thinking about, it can definitely help some people along the way, because those conversations are going to come up. Feedback's going to come up, whether it's from your trainer, your team lead, whoever it is, or the client. And if you're defensive all the time, it's going to appointment.
I feel like that's some stuff that people can work on. Like, as far as our community, we can prepare them for those type of conversations. Because that's easy. You shouldn't have to get, cut for something like that. That's definitely something in your control.
Definitely. And it's a huge self-awareness piece. A lot of the things that I was going to say, y'all have already started to talk about. So I was like, oh man, this is great. Great segues. So that's definitely one, but definitely something you can work on, which is huge, right? And the self-awareness piece is tough sometimes because sometimes people aren't self-aware about the situation or they're being defensive. So you have to be open to hear what somebody's sharing from you. Hopefully, they're coming from a good standpoint and not somebody just being vicious, but that's really another big thing. I don't know if there's other questions around that, but I do want to go over a few other things when you think about deployments outside of the business maturity piece.
Hey, real quick, there's a question in the chat. I think it's a really, really good question. Okay. It says, what are some of those transferable skills that you're looking to identify in a candidate that is brand new to Adjust? A lot of us are new on the call.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, great question. We are probably going to look for things like someone who's good with teamwork. Here, it's an equal balance, right? Because sometimes on a deployment, you're going to be doing teamwork. Sometimes you're going to have your own inventory. So a little bit of balance of both. Someone who's open to learn and to feedback. So they're probably going to ask some questions in there about your weaknesses and opportunities and what you've done to overcome those. worst questions in the world in interviews, I swear, but it is something people are going to ask because they just want to know, if I ask Travis, he said he's got so many years of experience doing other things transferable. What's one of the tough situations you've been through and how did you handle that? And I want to see what he says and then how he puts that together. So it's not always trying to like trip somebody up because a lot of people think that, and that's not what it is. But transferable skills, sorry to get back to that, definitely teamwork, but also being able to show an independence piece. You're also going to want to be able to show quality and accuracy somewhere, right? When you think about claims, the file notes need to be decently written for a number of reasons. Or goes to litigation. If it never goes to litigation, it's your work product, right? So quality and accuracy is going to be huge. Those are two of the big transferable skills you can find from a lot of different positions, right? It doesn't have to do anything with insurance. And a lot of times people are doing those things on their own jobs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, you said you had another point that you wanted to address.
So another thing you want to think about, something that's already been said on here, right, was about taking, so for me, getting into claims and every team I've had, I always preach, it's all about customer service, no matter what level of claims you're handling. No matter where you're at in the whole like scheme of claim handling, you've got to make sure customer service is huge. If that's not a number one thing for you, it's probably not a good industry to be in, even in the tough days, because those tough days, it gets really rough. And customer service is really everyone's job. So whether you're working your claim or if Demetrio's out and I'm working his claim, I need to be able to handle it the same way, just top quality as well. But the other thing is really taking charge of your development and education at a high level. So, it's funny because like I said, they had already started dropping some of these things and I was like, oh, that's great. That's all in my notes. So development and things, you guys do run your own business, really. You're your own business entity. So because I can't remember whether it was you, Janae, or Travis that said something about the learning piece and how it's not offered out there. And that's true. A lot of clients offer minimal. When I was a staff person with a large insurance company, I used to see independents come in and that training was 2 days. And I was,
exactly.
Well, right. And we'd have people that made it and people that were gone, like you said, day 2, day 3. It's, oh my gosh. And so, joining the other side of it too, seeing the clients in the training, different clients train at different levels, but they a lot of it to the people to learn on your own or
absolutely.
And their thought process really is, this is their business, they're running for themselves, they're responsible. So like Janae said, their certifications, things like that. The classes that I see on LinkedIn, I think I was talking to Demetria about this last week. There's a lot of classes being offered about teaching deployments, how to handle a deployment, how to learn exact data, first line level, how to get certified, exact certified 2 and 3. So you have to take charge of that. But also, a few people have already said on here, finding community was one of my points on here too, because I feel like in the independent contracting world, if you're on your first deployment and you don't know anybody, it can be tough.
By yourself.
Tough. And a lot of times now we're not even in the office. So you're having to meet people virtually to connect with, right? So you got to find a community, whether that's a Facebook group, whether it's something like this, which is amazing, but you got to find a way to connect with people and then really stay hunkered down with what advice they're sharing. I get it that you can't, I know somebody's gonna be like, well, you can't trust everything everybody says, but for the most part, most people are coming from, really good spaces in this kind of thing. The great thing about it is if you can get those pieces down, the amount of money you can make in this independent world. I know everyone's talking about money. I can think my first independent team lead job, when I got my first check. So the girl that sat next to me, that was a team lead. I just met her on the deployment 2 weeks before, right? Payday came around, I was pulling up the pay stub and I was like, this is how much I got paid in a month as a staff leader, right? And I was like, hold on, wait, is this what your check looks like? And she was like, let me look. And I was like, she's like, yeah, that's pretty, that's about average for what we got hired.
What was that check though? What was that check though?
I'm not gonna, I'm not. Let me just say, within 6 months, I made what I made in less than 6 months, I made what I made in a year as a staff leader. So that was less than 6 months, so I just remember thinking like, this can't be real. Like, this is really what they're gonna pay me every 2 weeks.
Right.
So there's so much money to be made and so many opportunities out there for people to make such a good living and do things so different for themselves, their families, whatever your reason why is. But there's so many small steps to be taken to be successful in that world. And tapping into the resources like what this team is doing for y'all, putting you in touch with people that can help guide you in so many different areas. It's the thing to do to make sure that you can stay on deployment. I'll be honest with you. Somebody said something earlier about like attitude and stuff will help keep you on deployments. I've kept people longer because they were willing to learn, even if they weren't getting
exactly.
Because they were willing and they weren't defensive, you know. And so you don't always have that option. Sometimes the client, you know, it's a slack. You get a chance to have that conversation, but your attitude really does make a large difference when it comes to that quality. Trying, somebody else said something about that too. You know, are they seeing the progression? That's huge. We're going to look for that. Currently the IA firm I work for, we do try to focus and partner with clients that aren't just looking to slash people overnight if they're not meeting performance, right? Try to work and coach. Good. That's not always something you're going to find out there though, you know, so you want to be into that, but where you can and you have some leeway there, take the opportunity to learn from somebody. You know, I think it was Dennis was saying, you know, he tapped into, once he got past himself, he tapped into his partner, and then other people and resources. He said a big thing, resources are huge. When you're talking about claim adjusting, for me as a leader, I'm going to ask, if we got somebody who's having a lot of problems, what's the problem? If it's policy, what problem are they having in the policy? When they have a question on a claim, did they even read the policy? I've got team leads that come to the director and I'm like, did you read the policy? I'm not going to answer the question. You know, I mean, I don't have time. Yeah, I do have time, but y'all get.
But that's the thing. Like, we're independent adjusters. They're not going to hold your hand. They know how much money they're paying you. They don't want to hold your hand through the whole thing. A lot of the times, they just put you out there. It is sink or swim. I know for me, right away, they told me, okay, here, you know, make your appointments, do your inspection, and then, you know, meet up with your trainer. I hit up my manager. I'm like, is there anyone I could go do shadow? Like I could shadow? Because I learned hands-on. If I can see it even once, I'm going to at least know my way around the inspection. So I had to ask, you know, like if that's what it takes, you have to speak up. You're independent. No one's going to hold your hand.
That's huge. That's a big disparity too. A lot of times independents, what I've found since I've been in this field, some of them don't want to ask a question because they're worried that it's going to cause them to get let go, you know, or maybe they have something going on behind the scenes and they almost don't want to say anything, but it's like, hey, your work product is changing, right? So we need to know. And so I am one of those, you know, that's very much like, hey, if you got something major going on, you don't have to tell me all your business, but you may want to tell me, you know, mom is in the hospital, work product drops. I'm not looking to fire you. I'm looking to try to work with that, you know. But in addition to everything like that, you know, when you think about working through your claims, I always, you know, taught my leaders and my teams, it's all a puzzle when you think about claims, right? If you think about puzzle pieces, you're piecing together the investigation along with the service piece to get that puzzle all together. And once it's complete, we should be either settling or denying. But we've got to get those puzzle pieces together. We've also got to get people that are tied back to looking at the right resources to get the right answers, right? So we can serve the customer correctly.
That's what this community is about. Being able to prepare those people for that. Go ahead, Meech. Sorry.
Absolutely. No, it's okay. It's okay. Real quickly, I got a final small little question here. If you could just answer this really quickly, we get to wrap this thing up. It's just, I see Travis addressed it a little bit, but if you want to speak to it, there's a question in the chat. Is it better to get the majority of the state licenses and Xactimate software trainings before signing up with employment agencies and working, or should we continue to grow and build the resume gradually?
So I think it depends. It's tough. It's a tough answer because each client's a little different. I would say I'd get the licenses first, depending on what time of the year, right, you're getting involved. Is it wind and hail season? And if so, where does wind and hail hit more? Right now we're headed, you know, it's hurricane season. Where is that going to hit more? So I focus on those.
Right.
Because licenses adds up, right? Nobody's paying for those. There are some TPAs that'll help with it, or independent contracting firms, that'll pay for that. But a lot of them aren't going to do that. So because it is costly, I'd start with, depending on the season, what those main states are. And then as far as getting Xactimate certified and things like that, it can't hurt. I would go ahead and do it. I'd go ahead and keep applying at places because they're going to get you on their roster and then on their email list. So when these storms come in, you're already on the roster for them to send text message blasts to, emails to, and things like that. Or like we do, we put people on seasonal leave. You can still be training in the background while you're on seasonal leave. We don't have anything for you. The other tough thing about that is some companies aren't using Xactimate. Some are using Symbility. So no, it's two different systems. It's going to be tough to know ahead of time, you know, which one to go with, which one you need the experience in, depending on the client, which you're not going to be able to get ahead of, in my opinion, unless you know somebody, you know, with the firm that's hiring you.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys, man. Thank you so
Thank you, Candace. Thank you.
much.
Y'all.
Candace, that was great insight on getting deployed. And those are some great information. So from those of you considering and thinking about it or just getting started there, man, man, listen, there's a lot of things. Get on these rosters, update your resume, like she was saying.
Just get started, guys. Just get started.
Get started. Take steps. Take steps, one foot in front of the other. One step that you need to take is to join a laboratory. Join this laboratory of redemption. Let's get in this $100,000 club.
Absolutely.
And we'll be there to support you. This community will be there for each way. So come on in and enjoy, man. And so next week, we're going to be speaking about preparedness. Preparedness pre-deployment. Preparedness, what you need to do before then. Preparedness for your week if you're already deployed. How to prepare for your week mentally. What are you doing physically to prepare your claims for the week? So we're speaking about preparedness on that next week. So join us, guys. Again, we may hang around here for a minute or two. If you guys want to stick around, if you have questions.
But 850 credit score. But 850 credit score beats. What about old Eva?
850 credit score next week. Next week we are going to have somebody that's going to be speaking. Those who has credit issues, which a lot of us do. We'll speak to somebody who can get you credit to 850. Like she can tell you how to do that, the steps that you need to take, and she can be there for you as a resource to help you get there. So next week we will be discussing that. That's another thing about when you're out here adjusting, you're making the kind of money that you're making. You're out of deployment, gives you a great opportunity to work on those types of things, your credit, yourself, your mental health, things, because you can meditate. You have a lot of time to think. So take advantage of that alone time when you're away. Make good use of your time. Work toward being better. And part of that is, right now we live in a world where credit matters. So again, next week, you guys join us next week, man. We're gonna be working on that. That person, like I said, speaking with the 850 credit, 100K. All you guys is gonna be out there. They're out there doing a Justin Now 100K club. That is what we're going. That's the club. That's what we're trying to do. Again, this is the laboratory of redemption. Redeeming.
100K a year or 100K? What is the 100K? What?
100K a month.
100K a month.
Oh,
100K a month. If you want to take
100K
30
in
days,
a month.
But 31, 28 in February, that's messed up. But yeah, 100K a month, man. 100K a month. You can do consecutive months. You can grow up and be like Travis.
I'm trying to just do one right now.
Grow up and be like Travis and do multiple months of 100K. But it's out there and it's available, man. And we want to help you get there. So guys, again, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your time, your attention.
Very.
Each one teach one, bring somebody on. Let's grow this community so we can all be there for each other. Your story right now can help somebody out in the months to come. So let's begin on your story.
That's another thing, like for the people that are here, that it may not be for them. You may know someone that could, really benefit from this community.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's it for me.
All right, guys.
I got work to do.
We got work to do, man. We got to try to get.
I got work to do.
We got work to do. All right, guys. Well, if that is it, man, again, thank you so much. We appreciate you, and we will see y'all next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Candace. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Dennis.
Candace. That was awesome.
Yes, definitely.
Where's my first deployment, Candace? Where was you at my first deployment? Doggone it.
Right?
Dang.
I'm not gonna lie. My manager in my first deployment was.
I'm not jealous.
Still to this day. I'm not gonna lie.
Mine was terrible.
I got lucky. I got lucky with a great manager and a great trainer. So, yes, sir.
I tried to handle it. I didn't want to come off, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you've never been in the IE world, and it's like, this is a team, though. I've led IE.
You must be great at it, though. Yeah.
She was a very nice manager. Very nice manager. We had a good time.
when I have to be tougher, I can be tougher. I
Oh,
don't
I'm
know.
She didn't play. She didn't
No,
play.
no,
Okay, I see.
I can
Okay.
see that. I can
Oh,
see
she
that.
didn't
Like,
play.
I won't
No,
get it
she did
twisted.
not
Like,
play.
I
Yeah.
can see the niceness, but I can also see, yeah, don't
But-
play. Make sure you get your work
Baby.
done.
Part of
With
it
that
for me.
baby. Yeah. Candace, she didn't play.
No, but
But she kept it real with you.
when you come from
Right.
that work, you know what I'm saying? I came from the staff side. And so I remember hearing all the horror stories from the independents about how cutthroat some of these companies were. And I just always told myself, if I ever join the side on the IA side, I will not lead in that sense. So, like, there's a time and place to be direct. I don't have to be, nasty to people. So that's one of the things
Yeah.
going, you know what I mean? So it's a great, I don't think we need to spoil it by leaders knocking people down. So.
I appreciate that.
I'm walking proof. I'm walking proof that having a positive attitude and just be willing to learn will keep you around. You know, I wasn't negative. I wasn't down. Candace used to be like, every time I see you singing, you got a little song. I'm always singing a song.
Always happy.
Yeah. I was just being happy. You know what I mean? And I know for a fact that people like, that dude's happy. Listen, I'd rather be around that for 10, 12 hours than somebody else that may be doing a little bit better, but like rubbing me the wrong way a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, so it definitely makes a difference, man. It definitely makes a good difference.
I'm wearing this downstairs with you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my feet in the water.
What happened? Major was supposed to play us out with some music.
What happened to the tunes?
No,
I'm ready to dance. It's all
Okay,
over.
there we
It's
go.
all over. Y'all late. Hey, he late, Gil. He late, Gil. He late.
Oh man.
Oh my God, though.
Funny. Yo, so is Dennis a pilot? I wonder.
Yes.
Dennis, you're a pilot?
Dennis is the pilot.
That's a lot better.
He didn't take it serious. He just kind of started pushing buttons. He is though.
When I tap this bar up there.
There you go. You get
Yeah, but Gail's the amazing air traffic control. She make things work. Put together.
Talk to y'all later, guys.
It's
All
over,
right,
man.
guys. Good night.
Good night, guys.
All
Thank
right.
you. Peace out.
Look at my dance on. Like my dance? Huh? Huh? Yeah. Hit that.
All right.
Man,
I'm up in the
don't
disco.
don't do that,
No,
man.
come on.
Don't do that.
Come on.
We trying to get people on, not
Right.
run them
Oh,
off.
Travis.
I don't know if that's beneficial to the brand,
Don't do
bro.
that dance, Travis.
Yeah.
100K a month. 100K a month.
Off one beat a little bit.
All right.
Miss the beat, Travis. Miss the beat.
Ain't no beat. Ain't no beat. Where'd it go?
It's the beat in his own mind. All right.
Right.
We out for real now, man.
Ricky said, all right, I gotta go.
Yo,
Peace.
I'm just trying to kick it. Trying to hang out.
All right, Ricky, I'll see
Hey,
you.
yo, what's up, man? Sterling, what's up? No, y'all want to hang out with me? Oh, okay.
What's up?
I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Down for the moves. I'm down.
Tomorrow, that's for sure.
All right, Cliff. Y'all have a good one. All right, Major. All right, Obi. All right, Miss Andrews. I holla. Where you at, Miss Andrews? You're supposed to be here in Michigan. Where you at?
I'm in Vegas. I had another event.
I know. I'm sad about that.
Yeah, I know. I miss y'all. I'll be there next time.
Okay.
I think we're gonna be in Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I'll be in Atlanta. Yeah, I'll be out there for sure, 100%. I don't know what it is, but I'll be there. Not the same though.
Yeah. I'll see you there.
Okay. Well, I'm over and out, guys.
All right.
Peace.
Bye. I love the dance.
That's a terrible dance. All right, man.
Ah.
Peace.